Before you press play on anything else today, I need you to sit with this one sentence for a second.
She heard every single word, every joke, every insult, and she said nothing. This is the story of the day two women thought they had found a fool with a fat bank account. They were wrong, dead wrong. Stay till the end, because the way this one closes, you will not see it coming. And if you've ever smiled at someone's face while they quietly plotted against you, this story is for you. Let's begin.
In Nigeria, finishing university is never really the finish line. Before your country lets you walk fully into adulthood, it asks something of you first. One more year. They call it service, the National Youth Service Corps. 12 months, no exceptions, no matter how brilliant you are, no matter whose child you are, and it always begins the same way. They gather thousands of fresh graduates from every corner of the country and scatter them, deliberately, into unfamiliar states. Places where you might not know the language, might not know the food, might not recognize a single face in the crowd. For the first 3 weeks, everyone is folded into one camp. White shirt, white shorts, white canvas shoes. You wake before sunrise to the sound of a bugle. You march under a sun that shows no mercy. You eat from the same worn pots. You sleep in long, crowded hostels, shoulder to shoulder with strangers who, whether you like it or not, become something close to family in 21 short days. But camp doesn't only teach you who to trust. Sometimes it teaches you, very clearly, who not to. That was where Lumi met Uche. Lumi had been posted far from home, into a quiet town in the east, deep in Igbo land, a place where her own face felt like a stranger's face. She was a quiet girl, the kind who studied a room before she ever spoke into it. Back home, she didn't need a desk in an office. She worked remotely, design and content, for a company abroad, the kind of work that lived entirely inside a laptop and a strong network signal. She had her own money, earned with her own mind, and she had learned a long time ago that the loudest people in a room are rarely the ones doing the most work in it. She never announced herself. She didn't have to. People noticed her anyway. Her things were always neat. Her phone buzzed with work at odd hours. She never seemed to be scrambling for anything, and in a camp full of broke, hungry corp members counting down to the next allowance, that alone made her shine, whether she wanted the attention or not. What people didn't notice, what nobody ever asked, was that Lumi had spent most of her life being quietly overlooked, not bullied, not friendless, just unseen. The kind of child who was polite and capable and never caused trouble, so nobody thought to check on her. She had learned early that being needed for your money or your usefulness can feel, for a while, almost like being loved. It takes years to tell the difference. She was still learning. So when someone finally chose her, walked straight up and made her feel wanted, some small, tired part of her let her guard down before her instincts caught up. That someone was Uche. Uche wasn't posted to that state by accident. She belonged there, born and raised on that very soil. She had pulled every string she could reach to guarantee she'd serve close to home, a stone's throw from the small hair salon she'd spent 2 hard years building on the market road. Because to Uche, service year was never about the nation. It was about exposure. A camp full of fresh, wide-eyed young people from every state in the country was, to her, a camp full of future customers, and she intended to leave with as many of their numbers saved in her phone as she could manage. So when Uche's eyes landed on the quiet girl with the steady money and the neat, unbothered edges, she did what she did best. She smiled. She moved closer. She made herself useful. "You're always working," she said one evening, settling in beside Lumi like they'd known each other for years. "Even here in camp, you can't rest. I respect that, honestly. Me too. I'm the same way. I do hair. I have my own place back in town, you know. By God's grace, I built it myself. No man, no help. Just me." That sentence did exactly what it was built to do. Because if there was one thing Lumi respected, genuinely, deeply respected, it was a person who built something with their own 2 hands. A girl who owned her own shop at this age, who pulled herself up without waiting on a husband, a favor, or a handout. That, to Lumi, was somebody worth knowing. "That's beautiful," Lumi said, and she meant every word of it. It's not easy to build something for yourself. Not easy at all. We hardworking girls have to stick together in this life. Uche replied, already braiding the friendship into place, row by row, the exact same way she braided everything else, with quick, practiced hands and a plan already 3 steps ahead. And just like that, Lumi let her in. Camp friendships form fast, intensely, without much real knowing underneath them. 3 weeks isn't enough time to learn a person's true face. It's only enough time to learn the face they've decided to show you. Lumi saw an ambitious, self-made young woman. She never saw what lived underneath, because Uche made absolutely certain she never would. Remember that. It matters. When the 3 weeks ended and everyone scattered to their assigned postings, Lumi made a decision that surprised even herself. She stayed in that small eastern town. It suited her. Quieter than the city she'd left. Kinder rent. And her work followed her wherever there was a desk, a window, and a signal. She found a small, clean apartment near the town center, set her laptop by the window, and continued her life exactly as before. Sunrise. Screen glow. Quiet money landing in her account. No noise. No drama. Uche was thrilled. A friend with money, now living close by, she could hardly believe her luck. "You have to come to my salon," she kept saying, every single time they spoke. "Ah, Lumi, you haven't even seen my work yet. Come and do your hair. Let your friend take care of you." Lumi kept putting it off, not for any real reason. She was busy. Her hair could wait. If she was honest with herself, there was another reason too, one she didn't say out loud to anyone. Her hair had thinned badly over the past year. Stress, long hours, a body that had been quietly asking her to slow down and never getting the message. It was a small, private sore spot, the kind of thing you don't hand to just anyone. But Uche did not stop asking. She called. She texted. She practically begged. "Are you avoiding me? Am I not your friend? Just come this one time." So one quiet afternoon, mostly just to end the begging, Lumi finally agreed. She had no idea she was walking straight into the moment that would show her exactly who Uche had been, all along. Uche's salon sat along a busy street, small but clean, with 2 wide mirrors, a row of chairs, and the thick, warm smell of hair products hanging in the air. When Lumi pushed the door open, Uche was already waiting, and she wasn't alone. "Lumi, you came!" Uche jumped up, all teeth and warmth. Come, sit down. I'm so happy. This is my friend, Mandy. Mandy, this is the Lumi I've been telling you about." Mandy looked Lumi over in one slow, smiling sweep, the kind of look that pretends to be friendly while it's quietly pricing everything you're wearing. "So this is Lumi," she said. "I've heard plenty about you. Good things, I hope," Lumi said lightly, and sat down. Of course. Uche laughed, draping the cape over her shoulders. "So what are we doing today?" "A sew-in," Lumi said. "Let's do a sew-in." Perfect choice. We start with cornrows, then we install. Sit back, relax, you're in good hands, my friend. Lumi settled into the chair, pulled out her phone, and let her shoulders drop. Uche sectioned her hair, picked up the comb, and began the first row. Mandy pulled a chair close to keep company. For a few minutes, everything was ordinary. The scrape of the comb. Radio playing low. Easy salon small talk. Then Mandy said something to Uche, and she said it in another language. Not English. The language of that state. The tongue of the Igbo people. The very same language Lumi's own mother had spoken to her since she was a baby in arms. Because here's the thing Uche never asked, and Lumi had never had reason to mention. Lumi's mother was Igbo. Lumi had grown up hearing that language every single day of her life, scolded in it, loved in it, fed in it, prayed over in it. She understood it as well as she understood her own heartbeat. She simply didn't come from that particular state. She carried her father's surname, and her quiet manner had never once given anyone a reason to guess. So when Mandy slid into the language, Lumi's first instinct was warm. Automatic. She almost smiled. She almost opened her mouth to say, "Ah, you're speaking my mother's tongue. I understand every word. My mum is from here too." Something stopped her. A small, quiet voice at the back of her mind. Wait. Say nothing. Just listen. So she did. She kept her eyes on her phone, kept her face soft and blank, and she listened. What she heard, she would never, ever forget. "Is this the one?" Mandy asked, in the language. "The girl from camp you've been talking about all this time?" "This is her," Uche replied, hands never slowing. "The very one. And the best part, she can't hear a single thing we're saying. Speak freely. She doesn't understand one word." Lumi did not blink. She did not stop scrolling. "So tell me about her," Mandy said, leaning in, delighted. "You said she has money." "Money?" Uche laughed softly. "My sister, this girl doesn't even know what to do with money. In camp, this one refused camp food completely. Everybody managing the same beans, the same rice, but Madam here was ordering from Mama Put 3 times a day like a small queen. Pure pride. And washing! She wouldn't wash her own clothes with her own hands. There were people in camp washing for small money, and she'd just bundle her things and pay them, as if her fingers were too delicate to touch water, as if she's better than the rest of us. Mandy clicked her tongue. Some people, wait, I haven't even told you the best one. Uche's voice dropped lower, sweeter, crueler. Look at her hair very well. Look at the back. Mandy leaned in, pretending to admire, then turned away to hide a smile. This girl doesn't even have hair at the back of her head, Uche went on. Thin, almost finished, scanty like my grass. But every single week, she's carrying a new style. Today braids, tomorrow weave, next week something else. Plaiting and plaiting on top of nothing. If you have money, fine, have your money, but at least grow your own hair first before you start forming. And this is the part of the story that's hard to say out loud, because underneath that calm, scrolling thumb, something in Lumi cracked, quietly, privately, in a way no one in that room could see. The one insecurity she had never told a soul. The one soft spot she had walked in that day almost too afraid to expose. They had found it without even trying, and they were laughing about it like it was nothing. Like she was nothing. It is one thing to be underestimated. It is another thing entirely to sit still while someone picks at the exact wound you didn't know was showing and laughs. But Lumi did not cry. She did not shake. She simply let the hurt settle somewhere deep, folded it small, and kept listening, because some pain, she had learned, is better used than released. The two women laughed low and easy, right above her bowed head. And what does she even do for all this money? Where's it coming from? Mandy asked. That's the funniest part, Uche said. She works on a laptop. Remote, she calls it. Sits in her house, pressing computer buttons, and money just enters her account. Can you imagine? She doesn't stand on her feet for 10 hours like us, doesn't break her back, doesn't burn her fingers, doesn't smell of spray and singed hair by closing time. That's not work. That's play. And that's exactly why she doesn't value money at all. When you don't suffer for a thing, you can't respect it. True talk, Mandy nodded. If she knew what real hard work felt like, she wouldn't be throwing money around anyhow. Exactly. So, I have a plan. Uche's smile widened in the mirror, though Lumi never looked up to catch it. This her hair today, the price I'm charging her is double. Double, my friend. And she won't even notice. She'll just transfer it like ordinary water, and I'll keep doing it every time she comes. Why not? God has sent me a customer who doesn't check price. Who am I to refuse a blessing from above? Mandy laughed so hard she had to hold her own chest. You're wicked. You're too much. It's not wickedness. It's business. And let me be honest with you, since the girl can't hear, I don't even like her. I've never liked her. That quiet pride of hers irritates my spirit. But money is money. So I'll keep her close. Keep smiling in her face. Keep collecting. As long as her account is open, she's my best friend in this world. The day the money stops, that's the very day the friendship dies. You're a smart girl, Mandy said, feeding the fire. Use what you have. These big money people think we're stupid. Think because they have small dollars the rest of us should bow down. Bleed her. Bleed her. Don't worry, Uche said, parting another section with a flourish. By the time I'm finished with this one, she'll have built half of this salon for me without even knowing it. She's paying for my next dryer. She's paying for my generator. She just hasn't realized it yet. And they laughed again. Through all of it, every word, every cackle, every cruel little joke about her hair, her walk, her so-called pride, Lumi sat, scrolled, breathed slowly, said absolutely nothing. She had heard every word. And quietly, completely, she had already decided everything. The cornrows went down neat and tight, line after clean line. Then the wefts went in, row after row, the sew-ins slowly taking shape under her quick, practiced fingers. And she was good. Lumi couldn't deny that, even now. By the time the last weft was trimmed into place, the afternoon light had turned gold through the salon windows. There, Uche said, fluffing it out, beaming into the mirror with all her false, sugary warmth. See? Did I lie? You look like $1 million, my friend. A whole million. $1 million. Lumi almost smiled at that one. It's lovely, Lumi said quietly. You really do have good hands. Anything for my friend. Uche sang behind her. Mandy smiled down into her phone. Lumi reached into her bag and brought out her own phone. Calm. Unhurried. She pressed a contact, lifted it to her ear, and waited 2 rings. And then she began to speak. Not in English. In the language. The very same language Uche and Mandy had been swimming in all afternoon. Fluent. Warm. Easy. Perfect. the words flowing out of Lumi's mouth like clean water that had always lived there. "Mommy," she said, in flawless Igbo, smiling gently. "Yes, I'm at the salon now. I just finished my hair. No, I'm fine. I'll tell you everything when I get home. You won't believe the kind of day I had today, Mommy. You will not believe it at all." The salon went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence where you could hear a single pin drop from the ceiling all the way to the floor. Uche's hand froze midair, scissors and all. Mandy's head came up slowly from her phone, the smile sliding off her face like wet paint down a wall. Lumi kept talking, soft and unbothered, telling her mother about her day in clear, perfect Igbo, while the two women stood frozen behind her, the full and terrible understanding crawling up their spines, inch by inch by inch. She understood. She had understood the whole time. When Lumi finally said her goodbyes and lowered the phone, she did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. She simply turned, looked Uche dead in the eyes through the mirror, and spoke, this time in clear, calm English. "My mother is Igbo. I have spoken this language since before I could even walk. So everything you said today, from the very first word to the very last, I heard it. All of it. Every single bit." You could watch the blood drain out of Uche's face. "Lumi," she started. Don't," Lumi said, raising one finger gently. "You talked for 3 hours straight. Now it's my turn, and you're going to let me finish." Uche's mouth closed. "You said I don't work hard," Lumi began, voice steady, low, clear. "I work 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, with my mind, with my brain. I create things out of nothing. I solve problems that companies on the other side of the world pay me good money to solve because they cannot solve them themselves. That is a skill. That is not everyone's portion in this life. You think because there's no sweat on my forehead, no work is being done. The hardest work in this world happens in the place you cannot see." She let that sit in the air. "You said I waste money. No, I know exactly what every Naira of mine is doing. I didn't eat camp food because I have a sensitive stomach, and I chose my health over your pride. I paid people to wash my clothes because my time is worth more than the hours I'd lose scrubbing, and that same money fed somebody's family that month. I know exactly the kind of life I want, and I'm building it, smartly, on purpose, with both eyes wide open. What you call waste, I call choices. There's a difference. You just can't see it from where you're standing." Then Lumi's eyes moved slowly to Mandy, who was suddenly very interested in the floor. "And you don't even know me. You sat here and helped a person spoil the name of someone you've never met. Laughing, encouraging, adding pepper to the soup. You two suit each other perfectly. You know why? Because you're both snakes. The only difference is one of you happens to be holding a comb." The room was so quiet it hurt to breathe in it. "You said you'd keep me close for as long as possible, that you're not really my friend. You only want my money." Lumi's smile held nothing warm left in it at all. "Well, I have good news for you. As long as possible is today. This right here is the last day." Uche's lips trembled. "Lumi, please, let me explain. It was just talk. We were only joking. There's one more thing," Lumi said, reaching up and lightly touching the sew-in Uche had just spent 3 hours installing. "I don't want this in my hair. I don't want your hands, your words, or your dirty energy sitting on top of my head, following me home, sleeping where I sleep. So you're going to take it out. All of it. Now." For a long moment, Uche didn't move. Her eyes were wet, her face hot with shame. Beside her, Mandy had gone completely silent, suddenly very focused on the direction of the door. But Lumi only looked at her and waited. Calm, settled. A woman who knew exactly what she wanted and was in absolutely no hurry to get it. And so Uche, the hairstylist who had bragged about charging double, who had laughed about a future dryer paid for by a fool, picked up her scissors with shaking hands and began to take it out, weft by weft, row by row, undoing her own hours of work in front of her silent friend and her silent salon. Her cheeks burned the entire time. She did not say another word. There was nothing left to say. When the last cornrow was finally loosened and Lumi's own hair, thin at the back, and all, was free again, Lumi stood, straightened her clothes, and pulled out her phone one last time. "How much is a sew in here?" she asked. "The real price. The normal price. Not the price for fools." Uche named the true amount in a voice barely louder than a breath. Lumi transferred it, exactly that. Not 1 Naira more. No tip. No extra. Just what the service was honestly worth, and absolutely nothing for the disrespect. "Thank you for the lesson," Lumi said. It was very educational. Then she picked up her bag, walked to the door, and left without once looking back. If that moment gave you chills, you are not alone. Do me one favor, tap subscribe right now if you haven't yet, and tell me the honest truth in the comments. Was Lumi right to take out the entire sew-in? Or should she have just left it in and walked away quietly? Some of you will say she should have collected her hair and gone. Some will say she shouldn't have paid a single naira. Others will say she did exactly the right thing. I want to hear your voice. And if you've ever had to walk away from a fake friend who only ever wanted what they could squeeze out of you, type I can relate. Let's see how many of us there really are. Now, let's finish this story, because it isn't over yet. Lumi went home that evening, washed the whole day off her skin, and slept well. By morning, she was right back at her desk, laptop open, sunlight on the wall, money landing quietly in her account, exactly as before. She didn't call anyone to gossip. She didn't post a single word about it online. She simply closed that chapter the way she closed everything in her life, quietly, completely, and moved on. And if I'm honest with you, that quiet was its own kind of quiet grief. Because somewhere underneath all that composure, Lumi had lost something that afternoon too. Not just a friendship, but the small, hopeful part of her that had let someone in, that had wanted, just once, to be chosen for who she was and not what she could provide. That part of her didn't come back easily. Peace isn't the same as forgetting. She simply learned to carry it without letting it show. That's the thing about people who carry real peace. They don't need to make noise about their enemies. They simply stop giving them a seat at the table. But the story didn't end so gently for everyone. Because here's what Uche forgot, in all her cleverness. She had spent that entire afternoon laughing freely with a snake of her own. And a snake doesn't only bite strangers. Mandy, the friend Uche had trusted, the one she'd gossiped with so openly, turned out to be exactly what Lumi had called her to her face. Within days, Mandy was carrying the story all over town. But not the true story. In Mandy's mouth, it became something bigger, juicier. You will not believe what happened in Uche's salon. Uche was there insulting a customer in Igbo, calling the poor girl a fool to her face, planning to overcharge her double, and the babe understood every single word. She disgraced Uche inside her own salon, made her remove the whole hair she'd just finished fixing. I was there. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. She told it at other salons, at parties, to customers, and to friends of customers, and to anyone with 2 working ears. And every single time she told it, Uche shrank a little smaller in the eyes of the town. Small towns move fast on stories like that. Soon, the same women who used to fill Uche's chairs began to think twice. Because who wants to sit for 3 long hours in a salon where the stylist might be insulting you in a language you don't speak? Who wants to hand over their head and their hard-earned money to a woman who calls her customers fools behind their backs, laughs at the very hair she's supposed to be caring for? One by one, the appointments thinned out. The regulars quietly found other salons. The bright little shop Uche had built with her own 2 hands grew quieter. And then it grew quieter still. The same mouth Uche had used so freely to spoil Lumi's name had, through Mandy, come back around to spoil her very own. And the friend she'd kept close, the snake she chose because they laughed at the same cruel jokes, was the very one who finished her. Because a person who gossips with you about others will, in the end, always gossip about you to someone else. The tongue that enjoys spoiling one name today is only practicing for yours tomorrow. Uche learned that lesson the hardest way there is, in the very chair where she once thought she was so clever. As for Lumi, she never went back. She never needed to. Her hair grew slowly, the way real things grow. Her walk stayed steady. Her peace stayed whole, mostly untouched, carrying, quietly, the one small bruise nobody but her would ever know about. And somewhere across that same town, in a salon that grew emptier by the month, a clever girl sat alone, replaying an afternoon she could never, ever undo. Lumi never raised her voice. She never fought. She was never even cruel. She simply listened and waited, and then, at exactly the right moment, let 2 people face the full weight of their own words, because that's a truth so many people learn far too late. Quietness is not foolishness. The fact that someone isn't talking doesn't mean they aren't listening. And the language you think is your secret weapon may turn out to be the mother tongue of the very person you decided to underestimate. Never insult the river while your feet are still in the water. You never know who taught the river how to swim. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. It genuinely means everything that you sat through this whole story with me. If it touched you, send it to somebody who needs to hear it today. And if you haven't yet, join the family. Hit subscribe. Don't go anywhere just yet. There's another story waiting for you right now. Another tale of quiet people, sharp lessons, and justice arriving at exactly the right time. Go ahead. Tap on it. I promise you, it's worth every single minute. I'll see you there.